Welcome to One Ancestor at a Time with me, Sui Tauloa Simon Young. Today, I'd like to give you a rare insight into our editorial meeting.
Okay, what have we got on the next episode?
Okay, it looks like we've got Brian and Lois and Grace.
Oh, okay.
What?
No, it's just,
What?
I mean, our grandparents are nice and everything, but where's the story?
What do you mean?
I mean, there's no drama, there's no conflict.
World War II isn't the conflict?
Yeah, but he didn't even serve overseas.
But he did serve.
I know, but I mean, he was just so nice.
He was the nicest man you could ever hope to meet.
That's what I'm saying. Who would watch a YouTube video about that?
About being nice?
Yeah.
Look at the world around you. Don't you think the world needs a little bit of nice right now? A little bit of patience and compassion and kindness and a real smile?
Yeah.
You know what?
Let's run it.
I used to keep a photo on my desk, 2 photos, one on each side of a card. They were my 2 grandfathers. As you learned 2 episodes ago, I lost my father when I was very young, so I guess this was one of my many ways to look for a male role model. On one side is my Grandpa Young at his desk. We're going to meet him later. His picture was to remind me about knuckling down and working hard. On the other side is my granddad, Brian Rockel. He's the one on the left, the best dressed one of the 3, and this photo was to remind me to be someone that people like to be around. Brian Rockel was born on March the 1st, 1909 in Taihape in the central North Island of New Zealand. Family legend has it, and newspapers prove, that he was born the night the town burnt down, which always sounded amusing, but upon reflection does sound quite alarming for parents of a newborn baby. Brian was the eldest son of Cecil Rockel, then aged 24, and Ethel Rockel, 22. Cecil was a school teacher, which in those days meant an itinerant life, manning schools all around the country. So Brian and his sister Ivy and his brother Fritz grew up all across this beautiful land, living what looks like an idyllic life in the country. Rugby was a hobby for Brian, as it was for everyone, but shooting was his passion. He won trophies for it. By his late teens, the family was living in Wellington, and in 1928, Brian was one of the first recruits in the newly formed Royal New Zealand Naval Reserve, which had a commitment period of 10 years, meaning if World War II had started a couple of years earlier, he would have been shipped off to the war. However, that was not to be. Brian became a sewing machine mechanic working in Wellington's rag trade and making sure the machinery ran smoothly. In the mid-30s, he gave up shooting. Why? It had something to do with Lois. Lois Kelly, born in Napier in 1914, the eldest daughter of Herbert and Mildred Kelly, was a good Christian girl. The Kellys were deeply involved in the Brethren Church. More on that in future episodes. Brian and Lois got married in 1937, and in 1938 their first daughter, Annette, my mum, arrived. Mum hadn't been in this world for long before the world changed. Britain was at war, therefore New Zealand was at war. Brian relocated, but unlike his mates who were shipping off overseas, Brian and family shipped to Auckland to ensure clothing factories could continue to produce uniforms. Brian served as part of the local Home Guard. Yes, that's the same kind of Home Guard we used to laugh at watching Dad's Army. While New Zealand never got invaded, Grandad did suffer injuries in a bike accident during blackout. He got concussed and had a hearing impediment for the rest of his life. The war came, the war went, rationing went. It just took a little bit longer than the war to go away. Brian and Lois raised 3 girls. Being of a very practical bent and perhaps wishing for sons, Brian raised 3 very practical girls. Just because they weren't sons didn't mean they couldn't learn how to do anything a boy could do. The 50s saw summer camps at Martins Bay and church picnics on Waiheke Island. In the 60s, the daughters married off and went their own ways. Brian and Lois volunteered in every boys and every girls rally, the Brethren equivalent to Scouts. Lois also volunteered at Kiwi Ranch, a youth camp in Rotorua. In the mid-70s, when I was just 18 months old, Lois passed away. I knew her only from photos and Mum's stories. In 1979, at almost exactly the same time as my father died, Brian remarried. Grandma Grace was the grandma I knew growing up, a kind, sweet lady. Looking back, some of my most precious memories are of walking along the beach with Granddad and Grandma Grace. At the time, I looked forward to more material things, but from the perspective of today, that time spent looking, talking, feeling the wind, watching boats, sharing memories was a gift precious beyond compare. Grandad broke his first bone well into his 70s. He'd always been fit and healthy, but time catches up with all of us. In 1988, he developed a heart condition that took his life. Grandad and Grace were married for only 9 years, but as a couple, they filled the grandparent-shaped space in my heart. My dad's parents lived in another town, so Grandad and Grace were the ones I saw regularly. I remember about a decade ago noticing that brands, especially men's brands, were embracing nostalgia. The logos, fonts and design tropes of 100 years ago were being used to sell us reliability. I pondered this, probably way more than I needed to, and I realized that to every boy, his granddad is perfect. His dad is too close, you can see the flaws, but one generation removed, the saintly halo endures. Maybe that's why I see Brian this way. And of course, maybe he was so nice because he couldn't hear what other people were saying. There's always that possibility. But Brian Rockel remains to me the nicest man whom you could hope to find. And I'm grateful to him for helping me to learn one ancestor at a time. If you like this, please like the video and subscribe so you can keep updated every time there's a new video. Thank you.